She's the host of the Jemele Hill is Unbothered podcast. She's a contributing writer for The Atlantic. She also helps us out here, works for Meadowlark Media as well. Thank you, Jemele, as always, for joining us. Before I get to some of my societal questions, though, Married at First Sight. This is your latest. She would not come on unless I asked her about Married at First Sight as a cotton candy, reality television show experience. Are you eating it up as someone who's appeared twice on that Below Deck show, right?
Yes, I am eating this up. This is a different network. Okay, so this is on Lifetime. It is marvelous. You have, I think it's 5 couples who all get married without seeing each other. All right, and so they are literally married at first sight. It's an expert matchmaking team that pairs up people, and they go from city to city. So this upcoming season is in San Diego, and based off what I saw from the matchmaking, it always looks calm. They always seem so sane. And then they get in these marriages and you're like, ooh, these people crazy as hell. So it's wonderful. I highly suggest and advise that you watch this, Dave.
Are the experts, are the matchmakers indeed expert? Are they doing things that suggest they have some ingredients for love that the rest of us do not have?
Are they matchmaking for them to be a match or for them to be a match for television purposes?
So sometimes when that inner crazy comes out, in the couple, I wonder, I'm like, okay, why would you match someone who is extremely frugal with somebody who loves to spend? But sometimes they do believe there should be some yin and yang, that you can't have people too alike, because they want growth in people. But having watched the matchmaking special, which was just on last week, I think they legitimately tried to help them find love. And it's done by 2 experts, Dr. Pepper and Pastor Cal. So I'm very excited about this.
What is your junkiest pleasure on the television front? And does Below Deck have a lot of return partiers?
They do. Like Johnny Damon has gone on multiple times, and he is. Listen, Johnny Damon on a new level when it comes to partying. Like I'm not there yet.
Wait, you got humbled in your partying ability by Johnny Damon, a retired Johnny Damon?
Well, hold on. Johnny Damon just recently got arrested at a breathalyzer he melted the breathalyzer like 3.0 or something, some lunacy.
Yeah, I mean, he pissed off the side of the yacht. I mean, I'm not there yet. So, I mean, it's a little bit different with Johnny Damon. But yes, occasionally they do have repeat guests. And so, no, I mean, it was great too, because I just recently I saw Andy Cohen. I'm back from a trip to the south of France for work. I might add, for work. And
wait a minute. I saw these pictures, these Spotify pictures of you guys running the south of France. That didn't look like work to me. That looked like you were just taking photographs in the south of France.
I mean, the French Riviera is lovely. So of course I took some photos, but I was there in a professional capacity there. And I just wanted you to know that. And Andy Cohen was there too. So I got a chance to talk to him at one of these Spotify concert events.
So, Jemele, when you watch Married at First Sight, my good friends Kevin Arnovitz and Tom Haberstra have a podcast for Top Chef called Pack Your Knives. And in it, they do like pools on who's going to make it to the end and who's going to fail, and they keep stats, and it's kind of crazy. Do you do the same thing when you're watching Married at First Sight? Do you take bets with other friends about which one of these couples is going to last?
Informally, like we don't have like a system. We don't set up odds. We're not like, first person to slap somebody. Like we don't do that.
You're not doing props.
No, we don't do prop bets. But we talk about it constantly. And the best part, and I think married women can probably attest to this, is that you're able to get your husbands hooked on shows or your partners hooked on shows that I don't think they might otherwise watch, and then next thing you know, it's like your show. So my husband is just as committed to the show as I am,
wow.
Which is lovely.
What else have you sucked him into? What else have you sucked this poor man into that stinks his television viewing, but he's trying to make a connection with you, so he has to sit there and endure it?
And see, I feel like I have to give a disclaimer. My husband was the one who sucked me into reality TV. I wasn't really watching it like that until we started dating. Like, he was all about the Love and Hip Hop franchise. And that's probably the most ratchet one that I watch. Is probably like Love and Hip Hop. He was all about that. And then we started gradually testing the waters with other shows. So now we watch Couples Retreat and We do watch, a lot of marriage boot camp. We watch a lot of couple show because they actually raise some interesting marital questions and dynamics that we'll pause the show and then ask each other.
You ever do any $1 million listings, New York or LA?
Oh, hell yeah. A million dollar listing LA is our jam. Also, what is the other one? Oh, we do below. Of course, we do Below Deck. We do the entire franchise of Below Deck. I pulled him into that because given that I was a viewer and having appeared on the show, he's not really into the Real Housewives franchise.
No, that's too much. That's too much.
No, that's a bridge too far. That's where the line is drawn.
Look, $1 million listings. This is what I love about $1 million listings when they do the crossover episodes. It's like, wait a second.
Oh yeah,
you do real estate in New York. What are you doing here in LA? And then there's always kind of a little bit of an asshole tension between the two guys over there. But
Frederick, I think Frederick, because he used to be New York and then he crossed over to the LA one, and there it is. I overstand with this one.
with Real Housewives. I don't know. I just feel like it's like Love and Hip Hop without any of the real fireworks. They're just too muted for me. I need a little bit more.
Oh, they're too tame.
Tame.
I think it depends on the one you watch. Like I love the Atlanta one because I think that's the OG of the
right
group.
with Nene and
the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade. Will you stop it with all your follow-up questions? Not you. I'm not yelling at you. I'm yelling at him. I'm not yelling at you. I'm yelling at him because he's got a million questions about $1 million listings.
Also, Love It or List It. Another one.
Oh, Love It. Yo, my man does not win enough. My guy, the guy who wants to listen, I can't remember his name.
I know, David. David doesn't win enough. I'm with you. But Hillary does amazing things with the houses. I'm just saying.
Those houses are trash. She does amazing things, but those houses are trash. He finds them way better options, brand new, turnkey. And meanwhile, Hillary's like, well, we're going to turn this closet into a mudroom. That's too much.
Because people don't want change. They don't want to leave. And then, So, but anyway, some Supreme Court thing. What were you saying, Dan?
How are Housewives a bridge too far? The Miami Housewives, even by the standards of that show, the Miami Housewives embarrassed me. I'm like, why can't you guys be less superficial and more interesting? If you're going to be all of these other women, can't you just be less awful? Why do you have to be the most awful and the emptiest? Why is that a bridge too far?
I don't watch all of them. I mean, I watch Beverly Hills and Atlanta. And I check in and out of Salt Lake City. I've never seen the New York one, which a lot of people, they argue that's the GOAT one. And so I haven't even gotten to process Miami yet. Look, it's too many other shows I have going on right now, Dan. I can't get to everything.
I think that's where a lot of us are right now with the content golden age. I will get back to some of the sillier sports journalism questions that I have, but I did want to talk to you about what was really, it felt like the weekend was a little extra heartbreaking, even though we're getting our hearts broken right and left here over a million different things from a million different angles. How did you receive the news, through Clarence Thomas? It's stupefying to me that a black Supreme Court justice who is in an interracial marriage, whose wife, is insurrection soaked, that this would be happening in America. I can't believe it, Jemele. I don't know if I'm naive or what, but I still can't believe that this is so.
I can't believe it because this has been a decades-long plan in the making. And the conservatives have been playing the long game. And if you want to go back to as immediately as 2016, part of the reason why there was such a call to vote and why it was really disappointing to the people who just could not bring themselves to vote for Hillary Clinton is because we knew this was on the table. And the former president made it very clear from the beginning that he intended to put forth Supreme Court justices who would repeal or who would gut Roe versus Wade. He did not hide this intention. He was very clear about it. So I'm not surprised because I knew once they got in a position to do it, that they would indeed do it. It's just one of those things where you hope you're wrong. You hope this day doesn't come. And now, millions of women have been told that we're second-class citizens, because that's essentially what this is saying. And I know I've heard some people, or I should say read some people saying, oh, it's not illegal. It's a states' rights. We know what else they said was states' rights at one point, slavery. Okay, they were going to leave that up to the states. That's what the whole genesis of the Civil War was about. And this is one of those rights that should be nationally protected. It shouldn't come down to various states who, as we have seen, enacted trigger laws anticipating this. I mean, and what's specifically when you look at what's on the books in Texas and Louisiana, where they're trying to criminalize abortion. And that's how you know this is not about the unborn. This is not about babies. This is about controlling women, period. It's about controlling women and also putting us in our place. And so it's a dark day. It is just, I mean, I guess heartbreaking is just the only word that comes to mind. And I just feel, it feels really awful, the fact that there's now a generation of women who have less rights than the previous generations.
Jemele, it's not the trying that I'm stunned by, it's the succeeding.
I'm not stunned by that either, because, and I don't know if it's, you know, being a Black woman in this country, we're just conditioned to expect the worst. Like I am conditioned to believe that America will often live up to its worst moment, because I've seen it too many times. And historically, we've seen what happened. And, you know, another thing about history, it often points to where this is headed. We repeat it constantly. Whenever there is years or periods of great progress, it is met with the most intense and awful backlash. You know, Reconstruction brought Jim Crow, all right? And then the Civil Rights Movement brought the Southern Strategy, which then, you know, Barack Obama brought Donald Trump. That is how it goes in this country. And so to see that there has been this movement that has just overtaken the country, you know, people thought that getting Donald Trump out of office would cure a lot of ills. The way that he infected the political system, I don't know if we can undo that. I mean, his presidency is going to cause decades of damage that probably won't be able to be undone.
Jemele, on a lot of voting issues, people legitimately are voting in their best interest. Let's say, for instance, taxes. Rich people want lower taxes, right? So they're often going to vote for the candidate that says, we're going to lower taxes, because that means less money out of their pockets. Meanwhile, the rest of the populace that would benefit from the use of these taxes, they vote the other way. Like, no, I want to be able to have free health care and things like that. But when it comes to abortion, it's weird that there is a segment of the population who this thing is actually not in their interest for it to be banned, and yet they vote that way. And I'm talking about women, and primarily white women, who vote for candidates who are anti-abortion. How do you convince someone to vote for something that's actually in their interest as opposed to against their interest?
I'm not sure if you will, because, you know, one thing, and I've said this publicly before, given that there were more white women who voted for Donald Trump the second time around than there was the first time around, which is, again, one of those things like, what are we doing? And it's unfortunate, but in the history of movements, we have seen white women undermine feminist movements before, because what they prioritize more is their whiteness over their womanness. And they're also trying to codify the racial hierarchy that belongs to their sons, their fathers, their uncles, you know, the men that are in their lives and in their communities, because they always feel like they will be protected. You know, a lot of those slave masters, not a lot, all of them, they had wives who went right along with the game plan. All right. And so there is just a different conditioning. Whereas Black women, for example, we've been conditioned to vote for community. You know, that's why the phrase, like, listen to Black women, when you look at the voting trends and look at who we vote for, we're always able to sense the nonsense. And we have to vote for community. It can't just be about us. And I would say not just Black women. I would say people from marginalized communities cannot afford to do this because we know if they come for one set of our rights, they're coming for all of them. So we have to have a much different mindset when we go into the voting booth. For me personally, I'm just sick of going into the voting booth, voting for my life. I'm so tired of that. Like, once I love to go in there and be like some of these rich people and just vote for taxes. I would love to do that. Instead, I got to go in there and vote for, okay, I don't want somebody to control my reproductive rights. I would like to be considered a full citizen as a Black person. I don't want somebody who's going to repeal a lot of civil rights. So I'm literally voting for my humanity every single time. And that's tiring. That's very exhausting. And while given I'm in a position now where I could have a little bit more selfish mentality, but I just can't do it. I'm not going to sell out and vote for lower taxes and vote for some monster to be in office that's going to take away a lot of people's rights, thinking that somehow I'll be protected, that my money or my power or whatever little power I have is going to protect me for the worst of these things that can happen to me. That's just not how I'm built.
Why are the words or the spirits of tolerance and equality such big asks?
Because for a lot of people, particularly a lot of people who are currently the majority in this country, and I'll just say specifically white people, to them that feels like equality doesn't feel like we share. Equality feels like something that's taken away. So they feel as if I acknowledge and if I have to respect trans people, if I have to respect, black and brown people, whoever falls in that marginalized community, then that's somehow infringing on who I am. And so often when you hear people say, oh, we're just too woke, what the hell does that even mean? So we're a country that likes to value everybody. That's a bad thing. And but for people who aren't used to doing that or feel as if they don't have to do that, it doesn't, to them, this feels like they're losing something. And as we discovered when there was that conversation about the great replacement theory, a lot of white people really believe that. They believe that suddenly, immigrants and black people and brown people are going to replace them, that they're no longer going to have their high seat at the table, not just a seat, their high seat at the table. Because I think a lot of them feel like if the roles were reversed, we would do to them what they've done to us. And that has never been the game plan. Not in the history of this country have we ever sought to retaliate or revenge. What we have sought for is equality and humanity and dignity at every turn. But yet in their mind, we're coming for them and going to do the same thing to them that's been done to us.
I don't know how you rank things that are appalling, but over the last, I don't know, half a decade, where does this weekend rank in terms of just making you scared of where it is that we're heading? There's plenty to choose from, right? When you're watching for 8 minutes, George Floyd and an officer having a knee on his neck, plenty for you to choose from. But I just, there was something about this weekend that just felt heavier to me as something I just did not expect to go back 50 years.
This is certainly in the top 5 for sure. But I guess for me, because also much of this begins with the election of Donald Trump, it is, I just remember how I felt the day after the election. And that was pretty bad because, as you said, we have a lot of material to choose from. We have his election. We have January 6th. We have George Floyd / Ahmaud Arbery / Breonna Taylor. Like, we have all of those things that have happened. And it's just hard to believe that we have a pandemic, obviously. It's hard to believe that what we've had to mentally cope with just to exist. And so every day, instead of, feeling hopeful, I find myself more and more resigned to the fact that this country is just never going to get it together. I mean, I can't tell you the number of my friends, Dan, who are honestly thinking about leaving this country, who are making active steps to leave and to live in other places, preparing for that to be sort of the second half of their lives because they just don't want to be here anymore.
Takes a lot to get you to resign.
It does. But, I also think about my own, mental well-being too. It's like, I don't want to wake up every day and be traumatized by some different stuff going on in this country. And I guess some people could say I could care less in terms of my emotional investment in these issues, but it's hard to do that. I mean, I've lived here all my life. I mean, my people built this country. So I'm not going to become emotionally detached from it. And so, I'm not saying I'm at the point where I'm ready to move to another country and give some of the people who troll me exactly what they wish for when they tell me to go live somewhere else. And I'm like, I've been to 37 countries. Y'all be surprised how good it is in other places, okay? Hey, sign me up for the South of France. How about that?
Jemele,
Where I
good.
was last week.
Yes, the working, allegedly, she said.
Yeah, I was working.
I saw there was nothing but giant Spotify parties. Like the South, nobody goes to the South of France to work. Not this time of year.
I had a podcast I had to do, a panel that I was on. I had, various
How do I get on this circuit?
social
Hold on, how do I get on this circuit when I'm doing my I'm doing Cinephobe from the South of France.
From Nice.
I know. And even better, they built a podcast studio that was right on the water. It was
get out of here.
To be fair, we work in one.
Get out of here! Get out of here! You come from privilege. Get out of here! The Jemele Hill is Unbothered podcast. Good seeing you, Jemele. Always good catching up with you.
All right, thank you guys.
I know we're divided in America on a lot of things, but at least today, on one thing, we can all be united and happy. Finally, Stan Kroenke catches a break. The owner of the Colorado Avalanche and the Rams and a tycoon. They kill the vampires. Mike Ryan sped in from Tampa. I want to call Roy. I want to find out what's going on with Roy. Everyone noticed he was on the ice last night. And I want to get Amin's thoughts and Mike's thoughts on the new media Draymond stuff that we were talking about, because the way he went after Kendrick Perkins it's a bridge too far. It's a line well past professional and respectable, but I don't know if there's going to be any coming back from the way that we're changing some of this stuff. But let's go back to hockey for a second, Mike, because you were awed last night. You were amazed to be in the company of the Stanley Cup. The actual cup moved you in a way that was weird.
I wanted to go to Game 6. Once it was known that Tampa was going to be hosting Game 6, you're going to have an opportunity to see the Stanley Cup, and it's commonly referred to as the best trophy in sports, and I agree with all of that.
They dropped it on the ice last night in the middle of things.
Yeah.
They dented the thing.
In record time, a dent, but I wanted to see this great dynasty have a last stand. This Colorado team is so great, so talented, and it's great to watch on TV, but from covering the sport, there's nothing like live hockey, and you pick up on just the physicality of the sport so much more, and what they're putting their bodies through, because they're all tough, they're all hockey players, it's a cliche, but when they're going to the bench, they are in agony. Like, they've been playing these super physical hockey games, taking puck after puck after puck, especially in that third period where Tampa just flatly wasn't going to get a clean look on net. And Colorado started flipping that switch that Tampa goes to so much, and it was great to see Colorado's level of desperation match Tampa's. It was a wonderful game, great playoff. A true champion was smited the way that you'd like to see them go out. And for me, the highlight of it was experiencing Lord Stanley. And I didn't think I'd feel that way, but it's honestly like you're in the presence of an American president walks in the room. It's so cool, all the pomp and the circumstance. Everybody is just waiting at the edge of their seat. Tampa Bay fans, there were some that left, but they wanted to wait and see Lord Stanley.
I mean, why are you distracting Mike while he talks while holding your phone up to him as he does the show?
Because, and I'll hold it up to the camera for the YouTube viewers, I have a picture where it said Lord Stanley. Look at that.
Oh, you interrupted the segment just to show a picture of yourself with. Oh wow,
It's a good pick.
It's a great picture.
As a
It's a
basketball,
really good picture. You should make that your avatar.
as a basketball guy, were you as awed by the trophy as Mike was?
100%. So when I took that picture of the trophy in LA when it made its tour, and the guy from the Hall of Fame was there, the handler. There's a guy who accompanies this cup wherever it goes. I talked to him and I asked him questions, and so I didn't know this, but it's the same cup, obviously, from media. It's not like the Larry O'Brien where they just make replicas all the time, and they engraved the name of everybody on like a concentric ring, and the rings, they keep adding them until it gets to the top, and when it pops off and they have to add a new ring, they take that one and they send it to the Hall of Fame. So it's a very, very cool kind of thing in the sense that it has a shared history. The only other trophy I know that's like that is the World Cup, right? Or do they do replicas now?
Protected by guards. It's got a whole story like this. It is protected the way that a precious artifact would be protected.
It is. It's a precious artifact. Famously, if you win the Stanley Cup, you get a day with the cup and you get to do whatever it is you want with it. And there have been some wild stories. We've interviewed that gentleman. And I was really surprised because Tampa's not their first Stanley Cup
We've
experience.
interviewed that gentleman. What happened?
The gentleman with the bad haircut
the gentleman,
and white gloves.
Okay. Yes.
You said
It was two gentlemen last night. They looked exactly like you want the guys handling the Stanley Cup to look
They
like.
have to be wearing white gloves, right?
Yes.
They look like court-appointed attorneys.
Yes.
And you just you're effed when that dude walks in the room.
The whole cup presentation stressed me out because they did this thing where it's like everyone on the team gets to take their turn taking a little mini lap with the thing. And you could tell the emotions with these guys. Like, it goes down from the best player on the team. The best part, my favorite part was like 10 minutes in when they got down to like the equipment managers. And it was like this equipment guy lifting it up, and you see his like pit stains, and I'm like, why are we showing this guy? Like, he's having his moment. Like, he's not an athlete. He's just trying not to drop the thing.
Yeah.
A couple people lifted it up for like 2 seconds. They're like, okay, who's next?
I think Roy skated around with it at one point.
Yeah.
We're calling Roy right now to get his thoughts because everyone saw him on the ice.
I like the idea that Chris Cody watched that and he identified with the equipment manager.
Well, I also was stressed out of like, if I was like the last player to get it, like, okay, so I'm the least important person here. Great. It was like there was a clear hierarchy of like, this guy gets to go first. He's been here the longest. Assistant captain McKinnon, and then like 17 guys in, some guys like, all right, I'm the last player to go.
Chris,
I'm the least important
you'd
person
be
here.
self-conscious.
That's not a shock to them. They've known that their entire
I know,
career.
but it's just, I don't like it. They should do it together as a team.
Well, you and Roy went to Colorado. This is
draw names from a hat. That's a great choice.
You and Roy went to Colorado to see Tampa
To
finish.
go to a funeral.
That's
For a
right.
funeral.
And they laughed in your face.
I wore white shoes just to stick it to them.
The zombies laughed in your face. And then Roy surprised me yesterday. Roy and Mike surprised me yesterday by just showing up. I had no idea that Roy was there until I saw him on the ice. So Roy,
Same.
Roy, really, you
No
were there
idea.
with him, and you okay? So Roy, tell us what happened in Colorado. You guys went out to Colorado. That was kind of a disaster because Tampa didn't lose, and then you decided what?
I decided to go to Tampa and finish the job, Dan. And that's what I did. It was just an amazing experience, man.
You wanted to finish the job with your hatred. You just wanted to go there. Were you beaming? Were you happy that Tampa was eliminated and finally that your nemesis was slain?
Oh, I'm the new king of petty, Dan. I'll tell you that right now. I was overjoyed seeing the demise of the Tampa Bay Lightning.
And what were you doing wandering around the ice? When did these decisions get made? And how bad was Colorado as an experience when you go there to hate and next thing you know, you're in a silent arena?
Well, there were variables in this situation. I drove, so that would have been a 4-hour drive back home because at the time I didn't, get a hotel or anything. So I just decided, you know what, maybe I should go home. And then I walked out and I saw this long line. It's like, hey, what is this long line for? And I just got in the line and then all of a sudden walked forward and then, wow. It's the ice.
That's incredible.
What?
Did you think it was food?
Did you say you were Steph Curry's cousin?
They were chips. He thought they were a line for free chips. What did you think was at the end of the line, Roy? Did you know it was to get on the ice? Did you just get in a random line?
I had no idea. I thought it was to get into the media room. But the asked media room, the actual ice rink.
So now you're wandering around the ice. Are you not supposed to be out there? There were other media people out there, were there not?
Yes, and my credentials allowed me to go out onto the ice, which I guess was lucky because I was busy looking behind me, making sure I wasn't going to get arrested or anything. But yeah, I got out there with my credential.
It would be great if that ended with you trying to hate them in jail. Well,
they get the last laugh.
because they just looked at you and they just profiled. That guy doesn't belong on the ice. He doesn't look like anybody else.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was afraid for, Dan.
I submit to you that Roy being black actually helped him, right? Because
this guy's got to be somebody.
No way he
You
would
don't
have
want
been
to be the
a
guy.
fan. There's no no way he'd be a fan, right? You gotta be someone supposed to be here.
Yeah, he has to be here for some reason.
I guess congratulations, Roy.
That's amazing that it was just purely by accident.
I thought I was leaving.
Roy, that's one of your greater on-air contributions. That was a magical revelation.
Thank you, sir.
It was kind of cool, you know, that moment right before a bride walks down the aisle and everyone's just like oohing and eyeing. That's what it was like when they brought out the Stanley Cup. And one of the things that I didn't really understand was fans from all sorts of fan bases go for a chance to see the cup. I'm a Panthers fan. I just won my first series in 26 years. It's hard to see. It's a rare sight to see someone lift Lord Stanley over their head, and even a crowd that has gotten accustomed to it stuck around for it.
I'm not sure the audience would experience what you did. I'm not sure that you are somebody who, if you had not done it, would buy someone else telling you how amazing it was to see a trophy come onto the rink. I don't think you had to be there and experience being moved by it. I think otherwise you'd be cynical about it.
I've always kind of gotten it, right? I know the lure of it. It's admittedly right off the top of bat, best trophy in sports. I love the tradition behind it, but there is something cool about being there in its presence. It's one of the most famous things I've ever been around. I don't really get starstruck. And when Lord Stanley came out on the ice, I was like, ooh, it's here. We're actually going to see this moment. And there were fans I saw an entire row of Chicago Blackhawks fans that were wearing their Blackhawks sweaters, and they were there. There were Calgary Flames fans. It was like a big hockey convention. A bunch of people love this sport and want to see the crowning achievement because the star of the show is the trophy. And it's not like that in any other sport.
It was weird also. It also stressed me out. Another thing that stressed me out was they were kissing. Everyone did the thing with their lap, and at the end they would kiss it. But because of where they're holding it, everybody ends up kissing it on the same exact spot. I would be the guy that I would be moving my head to the left a little and kissing it because I swear you watch the replay, they're all kissing it in the exact
unsanitary
same spot.
Unhealthy.
I
dangerous.
would be the guy that's like, oh, this is my moment. And then my head moves like 2 feet to the right.
Chris, how could you even be in your head as you're ecstatic,
I was just
celebrating
thinking-
the pinnacle of your life,
But it's like-
winning a championship in the sport that you've dedicated your entire life to, and you're thinking, "Oh no, I can't kiss the same spot." You're just like, fuck it, I'm gonna kiss the trophy wherever I kiss it."
Fuck it until they wake up with a cold the next morning.
I mean,
Quickly, because I know we're short on time. You'd think I'm the soccer guy, and I'd say, yeah, World Cup. No, not at all. They've changed the design on the World Cup, and here's a take: World Cup as a trophy sucks. Very mid. Very mid.
But soccer has it figured out with the way to lift it. You get everyone together, you start low, and then
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Why are you
doubt.
stressed out during a celebration?
'Cause
It seems like you stressed the entire time.
The kissing thing didn't really stress me out. I just said I would do this differently. I would move my head to the right and kiss a new spot.
I love the idea.
The
of
part
these
that
guys.
stressed me was the order of like my 7th or 8th. Like there had to be one Avalanche player that ended up getting to carry it 16th, and he's like, I should have been 9th. This is bullshit. And his whole night was ruined because he held it 16th, and frickin' guy who got traded, like, I'm just making up names, I don't know, but the guy who went 9th, we just traded for him last year. Why is he going ahead of me? I guarantee you there's drama with all this.
Chris, I like the idea of you picking up the trophy and like kissing it at the bottom because no one's kissing it there.
Right.
Because everyone knows, even though I'm associated with the Walt Disney Company, I'm a bottom feeder.
Hell yeah.
An obscure Stephen A. Smith impersonation. Chris Cody worried about hockey players kissing a trophy in the same spot and getting a cold when they're taking 100-mile-per-hour pucks around the face to prevent goals from being scored.
It's easy to think when you look at the Avalanche roster that this is the start of something. They were President's Trophy winners the year before, and now they've taken out the Tampa Bay dynasty, and they're just going to supplant it with a dynasty of their own. But I'm going to have the take that it's kind of more like the destination for this core. Colorado's team has been around for a while. They got to make some decisions on McKinnon's contract. He's due a whopper in a couple of years. They have to look at their roster and make a decision on their goalie, who I thought got better. Kemper got better as that postseason went on. Nichushkin and Kadri. Probably one of those is coming back. They have the cap room because they have all these expiring contracts, but it's going to be a different team next year, a far more beatable team because they just had all these variables come up together and meld at the right time.
Kadri, the missile.
31 years old, Nazem Kadri. So
A
he's
rare
probably,
Kadri Ismail joke. Not the Rocket, like his brother. What are you doing?
I'm doing shows. Dano, what are you doing?
Big shout to go for Nishushkin there.
Yeah.
I would have avoided that one if I were you. That's a tough one. I have to look at that name and stare at it in order for it to register
My
in my
face
head.
got hot when I said it.
By the way, the numbers say that Kemper was the worst goaltender in the playoffs.
I thought he was good in the Stanley Cup Finals. Like he didn't seem necessarily out of his depth against Vasilevsky, and I think in playing against Vasilevsky, I know he's always had it in his locker, but one of Vasilevsky's underrated skills is how he doesn't freeze the puck and he gets them going on the attack. Kemper straight up won the game. That and a missed call. And I reviewed the tape, and last week I had to take that, don't call that. No, I saw a different angle in the days later. This series might have been decided in part because Kadri, who was waiting for McKinnon to come off, started his break towards goal with McKinnon in between the two face-off circles. It was a missed call, and my analysis after that was poor. Like it was a really bad call. Kemper started all of that by catching Tampa Bay on the line switch. Your goalie, with an offensive play, won you a game. And he was really good yesterday. And I think he's obviously the most replaceable of the guys they have to make a tough decision on. He's not otherworldly. He's not an all-star, I don't think. But Kadri, they're going to miss him. He's 31 years old. He's going to look for one last payday. He's a huge part of their identity. Kadri had an amazing season. Like a sneaky MVP type of campaign from Kadri. I don't necessarily think that this is one of those dynastic teams, even though they have McKinnon and Makar, who are young dynamos.
You love doing this, though, after a championship has immediately been won or a team has been. You did this to the Bengals last year.
Yeah,
so much
take the
of,
under.
So
I think the Bengals are done.
So much of this stuff is random, though. This is what I was saying as you were bombing down the highway here, and we were talking earlier in the show about how amazing what the Lightning did was that Tyreek Hill and Chandler Jones got so full of themselves because of how Kansas City Chiefs in football, the randomness of football, which is random in hockey, like it's random the same way hockey playoffs are random. The idea that the Lightning have been able to be this close 3 straight years when you've had so much shit like that happen that's strange and random, and on top of that, you're still talking about Tampa could still be playing in this series, if not a call here and there, a hair here and there. What Tampa just did, I would bet against anybody being someone in hockey that could keep getting back, no matter how good they are. And Colorado was totally overwhelming during the season, the playoffs, everything. They were favored to win before the season started. They lose before the final. They lost as many in the finals as they did the entire playoffs, correct?
Last year, I think they were favored headed into the postseason too.
On the President's Trophy, yeah.
Yeah, they got off to a rocking start, won 2 straight against Vegas, and it seemed as though they were destined to make that march, and Vegas rattled off 4 consecutive victories, and it was almost like the curse of the President's Trophy. But there is if you're a Panther fan, there is some nice recent evidence that suggests after you slip up during that campaign, the very next year you build back better and you win a title. The last 2 examples tell us that. I'm not saying that I hold Colorado and the Cincinnati Bengals in the same stratosphere. I think Colorado's here for the long haul, whereas Cincinnati, I think they kind of got lucky to a degree, and it would surprise me if they made it to the AFC Championship. Again, Colorado's going to be there, but it's not the same. It's not going to be the same team. They actually stood toe-to-toe with the Tampa Bay Lightning when it came to depth. Nobody could do that with Tampa over the last few years. You know why? Because they were circumventing the salary cap. They were just stashing guys to be super deep in the playoffs. Colorado, by doing it by the book, was actually able to beat Tampa at their own game. Depth. And at the very end, they were blocking shots and playing a Tampa Bay Lightning type of game.
You are really conjuring, though, the spirit of an absent Stugotz by not allowing them to enjoy their hard-fought championship for 12 hours before you tell them do it again. You can't do it again.
That's sports, though.
It doesn't have to be that fast. That's you.
It's just hard. It's hard in a salary cap sport. For me, the reason why Tampa Bay would be more sustainable is because they have Vasilevsky. And in the Stanley Cup Final, a series in which they lost 4-2, he was worth about 9 or 10 goals more than the opposing goaltender from how much he saved in terms of quality opportunities. So Vasilevsky's like, I think Colorado, where they might not hang around, or perhaps they might improve, is if they get a better goaltender.
But you said worst? He was the worst in the playoffs?
He was the worst. Well, minimum if you made the second round. So of the goaltenders that qualified for the second round, he was like the worst, and by a decent amount as well.
They're doing the goals expected stat, which I hate that in sports.
You
like
thumb
soccer
your
and
nose.
hockey.
I see you thumbing your nose. I don't know what it is to thumb one's nose. I don't know where that insult comes from or who did that or when it first became a thing, but you are thumbing your nose at the idea of this.
Here's my problem with expected goals. What is an expected goal? What is an expected goal against Vasilevsky? Please tell me. I'm all ears. What do you expect?
I don't expect any goals against Vasilevsky.
Well, the reason why Vasilevsky measures up so well against that stat is because against a normal goaltender, you would score a goal that you wouldn't against Vasilevsky. That's basically what the stat tells you.
It's not even round. It's a puck. It takes weird bounces. I don't understand how someone can look at a play and be like, well, that's an expected goal.
Well, Mike, they're using a lot of different metrics that are being captured by optical tracking data within the rink and within the arena to measure, and what he's saying is against an average goalkeeper with these circumstances, this is usually a goal.
Oh, I understand how they come to it, and I just poke holes in it. I'm like, okay,
What's
an average goalie? What is an expected goal? I hear that they track all these, and people just throw this verbiage at me, and to me, it just doesn't seem like a real quantifiable thing.
Well, I mean, they're trying to quantify something that's been up until now unquantifiable, but part of when you say, oh, what about that? It's kind of like when you look at Steph Curry's expected field goal percentage, or what quantified shot quotient is what Spectrum Sports calls it, right? Second Spectrum. Yeah, he takes bad shots for the regular basketball player, but he's not regular. He's the greatest of all time at shooting. So, yes, his numbers are going to be a lot different in terms of makes versus what was supposed to happen in a play like that. Similar to your gentleman goalkeeper whose name escapes
Darcy
me.
Kemper.
Yep.
Or Vasilevsky.
Vasilevsky.
Gentleman goalkeeper, I like even better.
Here, in the House of Sports Commons.
Can you get me, Chris Whittingham, please, the origins of thumbing one's nose at something the way that Mike Ryan thumbs his nose at expected goals as a stat?
Not a terribly satisfactory answer. It says here the expression originated in the first half of the 1900s. This rude gesture was common for children to do in the past. It was a way of mocking someone. Similar antics including sticking out one's tongue with or without blowing a raspberry, or chanting the mocking song, na 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 na.
Yo, man, on Cinephobe, we got this term called 20th century bitch, or 20CB if you're so inclined. And it's the idea of things that when we were growing up in the 20th century was everywhere, and then all of a sudden disappeared, and I don't know where. Na 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 na
What
na.
happened?
Can do. They don't do that anymore. The kids don't do that. They have no idea
But
what
it's
that
the
is.
thumbing of the
When's
nose.
the last time you played in an elementary school? I mean,
I have kids, man.
The putting of the thumb on the nose, is that what the thumbing of the nose is? And then wiggling the fingers, is that what it is? So the fingers are the star of that exchange, not the thumb, but the thumb is attached to the nose. That's the thumbing of the nose, the wiggling of the fingers with your thumb on your nose.
Here.
Yeah, because if your thumb is not attached to the nose, then you're just kind of waving, right? Like, this is all right. But then you put the thumb to the nose, all of a sudden, very disrespectful.
Is it?
Right
I don't
here.
feel like that's very disrespectful. I'm also not sure that that's what the thumbing of the nose is, because you don't have a waggling of the fingers in this description, Whittingham.
What's the most disrespectful gesture that's not, like...
Are you guys sure that the thumbing of the nose isn't just rubbing
That's
your
one of them.
thumb against the bottom of your
Never
nose
seen
and
that
then,
before in my life.
and then
What are you
like
doing? Don't
throwing
stop
it at
that.
somebody?
No one's ever done that.
You do that. Here's another one I like. The under chin.
Oh
one.
yes, the raking the bottom of
Oh,
your
my
chin
God.
with the back of your fingers. Yes, that's a good
man.
one. Yes.
Very, very old world. Right? I feel like Woody
Very
would do
old
something.
world, or like Michael Jackson's trying to dance battle you. Michael Jackson loved doing that, actually.
Woody, what about the British version of the middle finger, which is two fingers, but not the peace sign? You turn it around this way. Oh my God, you disrespectful.
Is that true? That's
But-
British. Two fingers.
I thought the middle finger originated from England because of like the bow and arrow. Like, see, we still got our.
Snopes.com, my friend. It's
That's-
your friend, yeah.
Was that true or no?
It's not true.
It seems
Urban
here
legend.
like the stock video of
you see
thumbing
that
your
Atlantic
nose
article?
involves the finger. So if you look up stock video of thumbing your nose, it includes the fingers wagging.
So the thing that I'm doing, which is just rubbing my thumb against the bottom of my nose
Stop
and
doing
shooting.
That's not a thing. I've never seen that before. It's unsettling.